So yeah, I guess we'll get on to the books. So obviously we're going to start off then with The Flash issue 750. This is one of the big specials. I thought it was going to be 100 pages, although I'm pretty sure it was only 80 something. Cause,
it was 80.
Yeah, because the contents page, I was like, wait, that's not 100 pages.
Nope.
Yeah,
and the price. Because I went over my budget a little bit.
I think it was solicited as like a 96 page. I thought they all were originally. I don't know if anything got scrapped at the last minute. Who knows?
Maybe, I don't know. But obviously, we'll tell you the creators as we go, because obviously different stories, different teams, all that jazz. First story, of course, is the main story. This is the next start of the next arc for the main Flash book with Williamson writing. Interesting because Matt's not read the last couple of issues, so curious.
No, but I listened to you guys talk about it, so I was kind of familiar. I don't like this Paradox character. It's just one more strike on Williamson, but then we'll talk about it later, where I had my faith restored in him.
Sure.
Just not on Barry Allen. It's I'm mad that he killed Commander Cold, because it seems like it was all off screen, and it reeks of some kind of change, because at least I'm just projecting, right? Like,
no, I'm with you.
He was building him up.
Vaguely remember the death, but it didn't feel like a big deal at the time.
No,
it felt like there was going to be some sort of swerve. I kind of felt like how we did with the Alfred one in a
way. Right.
And then this here, like, oh wait, we had the burial already. What, we missed the funeral? What's going on?
And this has been my big issue with Williamson on the Flash over the last year or so. He puts these big ideas on as almost cliffhangers, and then in a panel in the next issue, it's solved. Right. So the last time I read Flash, Barry couldn't control the Speed Force. Well, here in one throwaway panel, he had Pied Piper fix the harmonics. Yeah. Well, then why introduce it, period? Like, if you're not going to do something with the story, it feels like it's just fluff. Or it's there for shock value. It was there as an obstacle in that one arc, and presumably because it's still kind of lingering in the back, because he says he has to be careful, so presumably it's going to pop up somehow at some point. He has limitations, right.
But
and that's fine. You want your heroes to be limited somehow, and when he's the fastest man alive, but I just go ahead, Pete.
Well, what's funny is he's starting off with such a sort of negative tangent to this. I actually am a bit more positive on this than I have been in The Flash in a while. This is probably easily the best Williamson's written Flash in probably a year.
It's funny because I actually agree. Overall, this is the best the Flash has felt. Yeah, I do agree. There are fundamental problems like, Pipe, just solve it off screen, and Cold being like, we buried him. If you don't have to, it's fine.
These are all kind of lingering things from the previous arcs, though. Like you say, the feeling of the overall thing feels much more in line with what I want a Flash book to feel like. Like, that's the whole story here being that Iris has been going around interviewing people about what the Flash means to them and what he's done for them.
Yeah, that was real nice.
Yeah,
I liked all that, but
yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And then, the actual conflict. Godspeed shows up. Iris kind of teases she's got 2 surprises, which obviously I think has all of us thinking, twins perhaps. Is that what the 2 surprises are?
It runs in the Flash family.
It apparently does. But so that's all fine. I think generally speaking the art's a little bit better than it's been as well recently.
I did feel the switching artist a little bit. Yeah,
because it felt like Sandoval was doing the regular, stuff, and then these big 2-page spreads were the other artist who I'm drawing a blank on right now. Segovia. Yeah. So, but yeah, I just this book. I love the Flash so much, and I don't know, a lot of these. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to do different things, like he's not just running things back, but like when I got to the end and they teased this, next event, the Flash Age, not event, but big story. And I saw Turtle there, and I just don't want to, But I agree with Pete that and Connor about the story of what the Flash meant. I thought that was really nice. It is good to have all that there.
I like that. I like that he's back at work actually as a CI. Having him do something normal and feel a bit more grounded again, I think helps a lot with what's been missing with this book. So generally speaking, this felt like what I want a flashback to feel like, and I definitely like this story way more than I have anything else recently. Him speeding off when he's talking to Singh, when he's looking at stuff in the lab, just little moments like that, grabbing Rainbow Raider and all that stuff.
Which, as soon as I saw all the crystal stuff, I go, "This better pay off to be Rainbow Raider," and it was. So I thought that was real nice. But like that's the other thing about him working for Singh again. It was like, well, did we ever get a resolution to the Trickster stuff, him being in Iron Heights? Like, no, he just took time off. So it seems to me like Williamson writes himself into a corner and is just like, oh, well, okay, I'm just going to change it when I get back. And I don't know. I just like more coherent storytelling. And if this is his, I'll use 750 as a jumping off point, I'll just course correct. Maybe if I hear positive things from 751, I'll come back, but as it stands now, I don't know.
I think my biggest problem with this issue, because I agree, like I say, it feels better. Taken on its own, it feels all right. But I can feel the course correcting happening as I'm reading it. Like I say, these panels just explaining things. And even if I hadn't read the previous story, it would just feel like, oh, okay, these are what should feel like major beats. Like, as much as I didn't like the last stories, if you're going to do those things, and don't just move on, don't just brush past them like, oh, we'll just forget that. Okay, we're doing the Pied Piper, we're going to fix the harmonics. Give me an issue on that. You want to sell that Commander Cold was a big part of this book for, I don't know, 30, 40 issues, however many it's been. And you want to sell that was a key relationship, and now he's dead. Give me an issue for that funeral.
And you're teasing him from the future and what his last name was, and we never got it. We just got his first name was Henry, right?
Yeah.
So, and these aren't like red herrings that are meant to lead you down a different way. These are just unresolved plot points. So
yeah, I know. Williams was tweeting that okay, there are clues in this that lead towards what he's been building to, and that if you go back to like issue like 9 or something like that, there was clues in that one as well that ties into what's going on in this issue. And I can appreciate that there's a long game, but that still doesn't help when you just brush over key elements of your story.
Well, it seems a lot like the DC shows in that, right? Where they're telling an overarching story, but sometimes week to week it was unfulfilling.
Yeah, sure. The Pied Piper thing, like, I don't know, was that brushed over? I thought that happened in an issue. I remember that happening.
No.
Did it? I don't remember.
Yeah, because they brought in Pied Piper because then he fixed the kid flashes as well.
No, that was the whole Mirror Master stuff in the Mirror Realm. Like, they brought them in with Heatwave and Glider, and they got that under control. But the Pied Piper, this is the first I've seen him in a while.
Okay. Yeah, Yeah, I was just mixing things that happened with what it's telling me here.
I'm willing to admit that it's possible it happened in the last couple of issues, and I'm forgetting already.
Which is
I'm willing to state that, but that doesn't the stuff with Cold, definitely I didn't miss that. But that should be a big impactful thing if we're going to have him die and have, okay, this is what it meant, not just one panel.
I guess the thing for me is that because I've not been liking it, like I'm happy to just sweep it all under the rug, which is annoying, because if he does end up having this big long game where all of it's going to be important, it's kind of weird that parts of it just feel so throwaway and parts of it are things that I want to forget. Because I mean, so much of reading comic books sometimes is just kind of having your own continuity and just skipping certain sections because either there's a writer you don't like or there's like a plot direction you don't like. It's kind of weird in one run to have like this vision from one creator who's got this big thing for 100 issues, whatever it may be, but have sections within that you don't like. And I realize saying that Tom King just went through the same thing with Batman, but that was more of a gradual sort of decline as opposed to...
It feels very much like that, minus the Nightmares stuff, although you could tag in year one for Nightmares, right?
I think it's essentially what we're saying here I mean, yeah, year one's the comparison. I agree. But essentially, what we're saying here is that this is a pretty good Flash issue, but the only problem with it is that there's weight of all these like things that have built up over previous arcs that we don't like, that are unresolved or have not been satisfyingly concluded. I think I was just happy to not feel miserable reading the Flash, because it felt hopeful. It felt like, because there's even a line from Iris at one point where she says, "Okay, enough emo Barry. I've had enough of him." And I was like, "Yes, yes, Iris,
amen.
Slap him."
Because I remembered how much I hated Negative Flash, but that was part of the point, right? That's not who Barry was, and it was changing him. And then, but yeah, for the last bunch of issues, it's gotten really off track. And I expect more out of Williamson, I guess, too, because I've enjoyed just about everything I've read out of him. So I have higher standards, I guess. And when these things don't, play out, like I felt the same about the end of Nailbiter, where the end of Nailbiter kind of came out of left field. And then until you find out that, oh, well, he's doing a sequel series, that all pays off, right? So I know he's good at the long game.
And, I don't mind the actual action stuff at the end. Like, I mean, Paradox looks silly. I don't really like how it looks, but I do like the idea of someone, like the villain, being obsessed with Barry changing the timeline. Like, that's what he wants to get him back for, is that every time he's changed something, it causes problems, and he doesn't have a right to do this because he's not a god, and yada, yada, yada. I actually like that motivation. Because, I mean, when we did that last issue, or the issue before last issue, whatever one was the origin of
the Paradox origin, that was boring.
Yeah, it was a conflicting issue, because I actually liked the idea, the motivation for it. This guy lost everything because something changed when Flash, altered the timeline, which isn't exactly what happened to his family, but like they kind of had this ripple effect, and then every time Barry changed something, it made him stronger. Like, that motivation is actually quite interesting. He looks really generic though as a comic book villain. He looks like someone took, like, I don't know, one of the Monitors and Spawn and something else.
Yeah. Well, and there's
smashed them together.
Teensy bit of Darkseid and Thanos and Mongol, like the big hulking brute. And I'm like, why? To me, if you have a character like this, why does he have to be this big, massive hulking? Like, just make him like a regular kind of dude.
I really hate how every step he takes, he's crushing the ground. He's not even doing anything, he's stepping.
He doesn't need to have this big, ridiculous comic book look. He could have a more simple style. And I get the idea that maybe the whole like affecting around him stuff could still be happening, because the whole idea is that he is kind of this. He's literally a paradox because he's been created.
He's a break in reality.
Yeah. So I'm okay with the ground cracking to this extent. But the look of him is just too generic. What Connor's
getting at, though, it looks like it's just cracking because it's under his weight.
It's just
it's not.
It's just pressing down into.
Oh yeah, they're doing it as if he's a Hulk, not as if.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, I get it.
If it was just there was like rippled cracks coming out around his foot, but his foot wasn't sinking into the concrete, I could kind of get behind that as a idea, like reality fractures around him.
Yeah, because he is a paradox, like Pete said. Like he shouldn't exist, so him being here is at odds with reality and the time stream and whatever else.
And bringing back Godspeed and having having this villain kind of like pit Godspeed against Barry. I like that in the overall sense of like Williamson's run of like that's the character that you introduced right back at the start, and we're still sort of playing with him and using him in different ways. That works for me.
When he called himself the bad boy of the Flash family, I was like, kind of like that, because each group kind of needs that.
Well, so he's the Jason Todd.
Yeah. Or the Guy Gardner, like, so eventually down the line, when he's not a straight villain, we can have a miniseries of Godspeed, it's kind of that jerk, and I think it'll be okay. Because we all know Tom Taylor made me realize that I don't hate the idea of Jason, I just hate who's writing him right now.
And who's been writing him for most of the last decade.
Exactly. So.
Oh, we'll get to some Liddell. We've got some Liddell later to talk about. Don't you worry.
I know.
I would like to know. There is a story in this I skipped, and it wasn't the Liddell one.
Wow.
I felt obligated to read that one.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was the one with the Rosmo art, but we'll
yeah, so I will a little hint for the Liddell thing.
Yes.
I didn't hate it.
We'll talk about it.
Show,
we'll
Matt,
talk
right now.
We'll talk about it when we get there. Matt loves skipping ahead. Right?
No, it's a tease. Because I want to talk about this story the most. That's coming up next.
Yeah. So we got a couple of pin-ups, of course, as these big issues often have. Howard Porter doing this first one here. Got the whole Flash family. Got Flash balloons, Flash Day in the background.
Yeah. Not a huge fan of this. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not. I don't love it either, but. And then we got a Doc Shaner pin-up. Looks pretty nifty.
Oof.
Do love that
real
one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks really.
Well, it's got Boomerang Jr. It's got the versions of Cold and Heatwave that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's all got Zoom in the background there. Like, come on, what's not to love?
It's real nice.
Yeah, all the villains are in just sort of gold and Wally's in the middle in red. So that was really neat. And then the next story is the Jeff Johns story with the Scott Collins art, and it's a Captain Cold story. It's called Beer Run, and it's about him watching the ice hockey. He runs out of beer, so he puts on his jacket, goes to the store to get some beer, and some punk comes in with a gun. He's like, no, this is my corner store. You leave right now. This is I protect this. I support local business. You get out.
Yeah.
But he's so misunderstood because the cashier thinks that he's the one robbing them. It's just like, just take the money. It's like, I just want my beer. It's like, we'll take that then. Like,
and I'm going to pay. But yeah, he goes, but I'm going to pay for it because I'm a man of my word. And this is the Cold that I love. Like,
this is the Cold that we should have had for the last God knows how many years.
Yeah, and it made me realize that I really just like Johns' Cold. Like, there's certain characters that I think that I like Paul Dini's Riddler. Right? I thought Riddler was my favorite Batman villain, but it turns out I just really like Paul Dini's Detective Riddler.
It was Johns who had Cold in Justice League as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Damn it.
Yep. So it's the working class guy that's like, yeah, I'm a criminal, but I have a code, and that's totally at play here. Like, at the end of the day, he just wants to get back to finish watching his hockey game. And he doesn't want to be bothered by anything.
Joe, I love
and you can relate, can't you, Matt?
Exactly.
Joe, I love about this though. I love that even Wally, because we get that one page with Wally and Linda, which by the way made me want more Wally and Linda and John's Flash. I know it hurt. Right, but even Wally's like, he just did this like before the Flash celebration just to get under my skin. Yep. It's like there's no other reason for it, and it just cuts back to him at the end, and it's just him drinking his beer. That's all it was. He just wanted to go buy some beer for his hockey game.
So real quick, Johns has had the Keystone Combines through his Flash run, because I just reread that a couple of years ago, and I had forgot about that. So it makes me think that Johns, being from Michigan, he's a hockey guy. However, him describing the Combines going into the intermission 2 points ahead, you don't count points like that in hockey. You count goals. Points are a different stat. So you get points for an assist, you get points for a goal. So it should be the Combines are 2 goals ahead going in. So that caught me a little bit and distracted me. John should know better.
I never.
It didn't bother you guys.
Yeah, I never picked up on it. I would
see now that you've said it, I'm like, yeah, you're right, because I don't watch hockey anywhere near as much as Matt does,
right.
But on occasion I do, and I enjoy it, and I didn't think too much of it as I was reading it, but now he's pointed out, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird.
But then I go, all right, maybe he flubbed, he goofed, right? He's a busy guy. Because then he brings up the Washington Capitals season, which is the worst of all time, which I looked up, where they only won 8 games that entire year.
That's so bad.
So the fact that the Combines are supposed to be the worst team since them, which in today's it's very hard to only win 8 games, right? With the way that overtime is set and whatever. So again, made it up, but I love that that's who Captain Cold is, right? He loves his local team, and he's not going to miss them for anything, right? So he's watching them win, if it's the cup or a playoff game, whatever it is that he's getting back for.
I might be able to do that it's just a regular game, but it's been so long since they've won one that it just matters.
That could be too, right? Like, but yeah, so that's a DC, if you're listening, Combines merch. I know one person that'll buy it.
Matt will buy any sports merch you put out.
Yeah, well, you got the Metropolis Monarchs too. I'm waiting on that one, or the Mammoths. The Monarchs are the baseball team. But Metropolis Man.
Yeah, Matt's all over all
Islanders
this.
colors. It's
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah. No, I like him supporting the team because they're underdogs, even though
Yep.
you know.
Well, that's cold, right? Like
Yeah.
he's just a dude that came across a freeze gun, and then learned how to use it better than anybody. So, and I've always felt like that's the thing that John's clung on to with Cold. That and his relationships with him making the family, because his family life sucks so bad. So that's why the Rogues are a family to him.
I think this works as well in the supporting the team. It ties in with the him actually wanting to support his local business with the store. Like he cares about his community.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, he does. Well, and he does. He always fights, and this is why I had such a problem with Williamson's characterization of him as King Cold, because that
makes no sense.
Which is not this Cold, right? Like,
yeah.
And this is the one I prefer. So, also we get a Collins drawing Grodd, and parachuting gorillas into Central.
Well, yeah, but it's no John Romita Jr. Grodd, so don't.
Hey now, there's only one John Romita Jr. Grodd, and he looks like Sasquatch. So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I love the story.
There's a enjoyable story. There's a pin-up next by Mike McCone and Mike Atea. I'm not a fan, to be honest. This is Bart, and he looks...
I don't like the face.
Creepy as shit. Yeah.
His face is stretched. Like...
He looks like he's auditioning to be in The Boy 3. It looks like he wants to be the creepy doll.
He does look like a doll. I was going to say that.
Yeah. So... There's that one, and then there's a Mitch Gerrard's one, though, which is really pretty, in fact.
It's a lot of fun, as well as a concept of what it is.
Yeah, so the kid's reading the book, and he looks like the sheer force of the Speed Force is applying G-forces to his face as he goes by.
Oh, yeah, because you see like the Flash's like arm and leg, as if he's just whizzed by. He's just going out of the panel, essentially. And the kid's just sort of looking. I love the look in the kid's face. Actually, he's like, it's almost like when you're like on like a really fast roller coaster or something, and your face sort of goes back.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
It's really well captured. You know exactly what it's trying to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Garrett's is really good.
So then we have the Manipul and Buccellato story. This is harkening back to the New 52 era of the Flash.
My second favorite Flash team after Johns and Collins and the Wally stuff. This New 52, this is probably my favorite thing in the New 52 was the Booch and Manipul Flash.
I forgot how much I loved Manipul's Flash layouts.
Yep.
He gets so inventive with the layouts on his Flash stuff.
I'm not as enthusiastic about their Flash run, to be honest, but
I love that run. I got the omnibus as well, but I'm not a big fan of this story. This new power. What is it? Speed? What does he call it?
He did this though in New 52. This is the thing that he realized he could do. So I like the fact that it calls back. Like this doesn't fit in current continuity, right? This was just like a one shot throwback, almost like that Collins John's story.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that. Oh, this is continuity now because of what happened with Linda. No, it's surely this is just set in somewhere in their run. Yeah,
because, and then when he goes to what is our Earth apparently, with the little girl on the salt flats,
reading their Flash book.
That's
exactly.
Let's explain what's happening here. Barry, when he's asked a question by Iris about why him, why should he be the Flash, he uses this power that he has, which I also don't like because it feels so, I don't know, easy to, exploit. I guess.
Yes, only, but see, it works in stories like this or in annuals where it's great for a what if. Because it's him doing the alternate parallel reality type things, which to me is inherent in the Flash.
Just to make this clear, he is essentially doing a trick with the Speed Force to look into possible other timelines to what would happen differently, and it's just an excuse to look into essentially Elseworlds of what happens with Flash.
I think what's frustrating about it is he can just travel to other timelines anyway. That's kind of his thing. It's the idea that he can just mentally project these other ones that I don't like about it.
It just feels too easy.
Yeah, I don't mind because it's not like he's interacting with them. He's just there as a passenger.
Because he goes to one where Iris is the Flash and He's still with
During the
Patty.
week,
Yeah, you missed the big one first.
I was going to
Yeah.
go back. I was going to go back to Grodd. I was going to go back to Grodd Flash. I hadn't forgotten about it. Don't worry.
Grodd Flash, guys. I have a new favorite character. We had
What the hell?
we had Space Gorilla, right? Now I have Grodd Flash.
Space
like-
Ape, right?
Space Ape. There you go.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Patty Spivot can suck it. I don't care about Patty, right? I don't care about there being a world where Barry's still with Patty.
What's-
Patty's the worst.
What's so
Screw you, Pete.
What's so funny is like a month ago I took to Twitter, go, hey, remember when Johns wanted us to think that Patty Spivot was a character we should care about?
Remember when Johns wanted Cowgirl to be a thing?
Yeah. So I think he just, I have a thing for redheads. I think John just has a thing for blondes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
But then he forgets all about them.
yeah, exactly. So, no, I like this. I might just be biased because I really love the Booch.
I'm mixed because I really like the point
Booch
of it.
Apple.
I really like the point of it. I love the actual reading experience. I love the art. I'm just not. It's just the core concept that I just didn't really like. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for the girl yelling "Go Science" because she predicted where the lightning storm was going to be.
Yeah.
Like,
Doc Brown could use a lesson or two from this girl.
yeah. I mean, well, to be fair, he was operating in 1980s, so this is she's got almost 40 years on him. So very, very, think force.
Yes.
Or whatever you call this.
The speed mind, I think it was.
Speed
No,
mind.
I mean, I kind of like the point as well that Connor said, like the idea that it's getting us. No, anyone can be the Flash. It could be, anyone could step up and take this on.
It just happened that he got hit by lightning, but
yeah.
He wasn't destined to be. It
Like,
could have been anyone else.
I almost feel like you didn't have to have him witness everything. Like, you could have just paused in the moment where she asked him that. We could see all these alternate realities, and then he could kind of make the same point anyway, and it'd actually just work as well, if not better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Manipul wanted to draw the Flash again because it's been a minute. So
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be mad at Manipul Flash. Like, I'm just not. Like,
It's a gorgeous looking little story, isn't it?
yep, it is.
Yeah.
Plus, Flash Grodd.
Yes,
Or
Flash
Grodd
Grodd's
whatever
the
we call it.
thing. Yes. So the next story is Flash of All Worlds, and it's the Marv Wolfman written Riley Rosmar. And did you skip it as well?
No.
Okay, just check
It wasn't good, though.
So we are all on record of being really anti Riley Rosmar, and what's really funny about this? What's really funny about this to me? So it's a Mirror Master story, which I appreciate, right? And he's in like a House of Mirrors and all that.
And it's Scudder, so it's classic.
Yeah. So what's really funny about this to me is that eventually Mirror Master hits him with something that makes his head grow larger, and all I could think was, wait, it made his head even more Riley Rosmo? Like, that's literally how I felt when it happened to him, because he's drawing this big head, and I'm like, this just looks like your art. Like, you do this all the time.
That's the only reason Rosmo took the job, because so he could draw Flash with an even bigger head. Like, yeah, this felt very Silver Agey. I do like the references to the old Flash, like him becoming a puppet and him with the giant head and all the references to those old Silver Age covers. It was a chore to read, and like Rosmo's art doesn't fit.
Yeah, I don't like Rosmo's art. I never do really these days. But I mean, I didn't like it either. It just kind of felt there wasn't much to it. It was a lots of action pages of him like dodging mirrors and just like them looking angry at each other and whatnot. Didn't get a whole lot of it myself. So we can move on. This was the weakest.
And he draws a very stretchy Flash.
Yes.
Like,
that was the point where I knew I was out. I thought, well, maybe he's okay on Flash, because I don't think I've seen him on Flash before.
Right.
I got like those first 3 panels at the top of the first page, and then I was like, it was the third one, and I was like, nope, look at that leg. And I was like, no, I just know that there's no point. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to put myself through it.
Yeah, I just hate how every single like forehead and chin are all like extended out.
So
it bugs me.
Pointy.
Yeah.
He looks like the Moon Man that McDonald's used to use. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Is that beyond your time? Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm sorry. But that was that story, which I think. I mean, let's not say least favorite. I mean, we'll get to the Lobdell one at the end. But let's talk about the second Williamson story, which is also going to tie into what he's doing in Flash this year. David Marquez is in the art for this one, which is maybe why he wasn't on Batman Superman. for that
And
past
that's
issue.
okay, because I'm gonna say this was my favorite story in this entire book.
I thought you might say that. We have
Yeah,
a Jay
you give me a
Garrick.
Jay story, and I'm there.
We have a Jay Garrick Flash story set in 1940. He's taking on the Thinker. It's very pulpy. You know, Thinker's trying to, like, you know, to control everyone's heads with his thinking cap. It's the whole thing. Art's obviously very pretty, and you know, but the key thing here, though, the very interesting thing, is that a Reverse Flash whispers in his ear when he's traveling at super speed, says, "They'll forget you, Jay Garrick. I've seen your future," and we know he's forgotten. That's obviously a big thing that's happened with you know, with Flashpoint and all the other jazz. Hell, even before that with Crisis, that kind of there was like weird changes to how Jay was perceived. So. Yeah, that's basically it. He throws his hat around, and you get this big final page where he's running, and we see all the future Flashes kind of around him.
Yeah, so the whole idea of Hope being integral into a Flash, right? That Jay's not really part of the Speed Force, right? He got retconned in, but so it's not necessarily the Speed Force that makes you a Flash. It's this never-ending sense of hope. And so when we get to the part where the reverse Flash, we don't know which one it is.
Yeah, that's why
whispers in his ear.
That's why I phrased it like that, because I mean they could easily tell us this is Zolomon or whatever. Yeah,
right. So, but he takes it that it's in a voice, and it's like, and he's like, the voice is so loud lately, it feels like the bad guys of the world are gonna win. But then he tells the Thinker, because it looks like all's lost, that, you know, fear's easy, hope's hard, right? And in this day and age, and this time, I think that despite this being in the 1940s, right, that's such a resounding message. And for a Flash to carry it, you know, and then you turn the page and he says he's up for the challenge and he does the hat throw. Like, oh man, this one hit me hard. This one got me stupid emotional, sitting there reading it at work, you know. So
it is worth mentioning that the Reverse Flash in that final page is definitely Thawne, just going by the eyes, but you know,
doesn't really mean anything for sure, does it?
It doesn't for sure. No. There is also a reference to the Wonder Woman story from Wonder Woman 750, where he says in his narration that Wonder Woman showed him what he could be doing, bringing out into the public and inspiring hope. So there are definitely some connections there that they're obviously building to this new timeline. How much of that new timeline we get now is up for debate.
But you know what?
This was probably too late to change.
But if it only shows up in whoever's doing Justice Society, and it acts as an anomaly or whatever, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so, no, that's cool. No, I like this as well. It was, like, it's not much to the story itself. It's very short and simple in what it's doing, but it's this classic sort of J pulpiness.
It might have the pulp bias here out of me.
Like, honestly, the idea of a Reverse Flash going back and sort of, you know, almost try to tease him that, you know, you're going to be forgotten in the future, you're worthless, is actually kind of exciting. I love the idea of getting a story, like whether it's a JSA story or whatever, where Reverse Flash that we know from, you know, Barry's stories goes back and torments Jay via time travel.
It works particularly well in this story, given that Jay has only just kind of decided that he should be doing more and making a statement like Wonder Woman.
Well,
and the idea that, you're doing it all for nothing is essentially what he's being told. And
he's like, but you know what? That's fine, because I'm not doing it for this. I'm doing it to make the world a better place, because I want to see it. And God, I love Jay Garrick. Like, the fact that we never got like a Paul Newman Jay Garrick, I just, man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, short little stories like this make me wish we could get a Jay ongoing book for a while, or at least a 12-issue series or something, because just to have like a full set of this, where him fighting the pulpier villains of the 40s and stuff like that, and maybe that's what JSA will kind of end up being.
And if so, awesome. Plus, Marquez's...
Go on.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, Marquez's art fits it perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, what were we going to say, Connor?
I was just saying, I feel the same way about like Alan Scott as well, like, in terms of maybe you do just do it in a JSA, but I want those sort of stories that I feel like we haven't had in so long.
Yeah. Wildcat, like Jesse Quick or Johnny Quick, Jesse Quick's his daughter, Liberty Bell, her mom, like there's all these characters that I have a stupid fascination with, and I can't tell you why. I mean, originally it was because I thought they looked cool, you know, but I had no idea who they were. But yeah, but no, Jay Garrick's definitely up there as one of my favorite.
Do you know
Golden
what I
Age
like
heroes.
about the heroes of this age that's something different in terms of the costuming?
Hmm.
Is that they're not suits. They're still wearing like trousers. You know, they've got like an actual belt with a normal buckle on. It's like yeah, and then a top on. It's very different. Like, well, they're still
And I like
stylized with
that.
capes and stuff.
I like that Jay's those almost based off of a World War One uniform, right? Because that hat is very much
Yeah, the collar
what they
too.
were, right? The collar, the vest, you know how it opens up that way. So it almost is militarized, but not really, not like current, like, you know, you think Batman in his tactical suits or whatever. And with Wildcat, it was just a guy in a you know, whatever he was wearing, because it wasn't latex and it wasn't you know, spandex.
Yeah.
But him just going out there in boxing trunks basically and knocking out crime.
The suits feel a lot more casual, don't they?
Yeah.
But in a way that I kind of really like.
Well,
I
and,
think
and to me, and I know Pete hates it, but it's why I didn't mind the Superman T-shirt and jeans.
Oh, I hate
phase.
that. I hate that. Superheroes should not be in jeans. End of discussion.
Yeah.
But no, this works because it's meant to be kind of like it's a natural evolution of okay, the first wave of heroes were a bit more makeshift. It was just regular clothes that might have had a logo or something.
Well,
and then the next generation, things got slicker. It's like technology where, you know, at first like, you can almost see the workings of it because it's mechanical and you can see how it all fits together.
right.
But over time, we make it sleeker. We're obsessed with hiding what it is so that by now we have just little, you know, rectangles that are phones. And the hope is that one day we'll have holograms and glass things and, you know, whatever.
Right.
Same with superhero costumes. They keep getting more slick and ridiculous.
It doesn't get more like found costume than Alan Scott's original, which was like a red tunic and trousers and a purple cape.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, he just picked those off of a line as he was going through.
At least now he's got the collar as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, his original costume with the domino mask. You're like, man, where'd you find this?
Yeah,
it's very swashbuckling though too.
And actually, I like how the pin-up after this is related because it's a JSA pin-up with J at the front.
It's really nice, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that one's pretty nice. And then there's a pin-up that I'm not that fond of by Kerry Randolph and Peter Steigerwald. It's Wallace. It's weird.
Not a fan at all.
Yeah, weird proportions. It's going for kind of a fisheye thing almost with the perspective, but yeah, I'm not feeling it.
It's just not. Do you know what I think would have sold the fisheye thing is if the background's warped as well. It feels like only he's warped.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. Which leads us on to the final story. We knew this was coming. This is the Flash Forward epilogue, which is funny because we have not been reading Flash Forward, but this clearly is meant to work on its own as well because this is basically just this is Wally with the Manhattan style narration boxes explaining what he is now. Here's the thing about this story though. This doesn't feel like Abdel came up with any of this. This feels like they know what Wally's doing soon, and they said to Abdel, "This is what information you have to get across." And he went and wrote the script, obviously, but none of this feels like Abdel's idea. This just feels like a set list of things that Wally's going to be doing soon. So they're teasing all this Wally Manhattan stuff.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like to me.
The problem is Abdel can't write good dialogue.
And that's fair, but because of that though, it wasn't frustrating me in the set, like, you know, because when it's teasing things where it's like, oh, I remember all my various histories, and it's one of these weird things where even though Doomsday Clock's been kind of in a weird place with how it connects to everything, the way Wally's talk, because there's a couple of specific lines where Wally's talking about how, oh, we formed the Teen Titans, and then later we formed the Teen Titans again, and all I could think was, or he watched the Teen Titans be formed again, I think was maybe more accurate, but all I could think was, this sounds exactly like when Johns was describing the metaverse with Superman. Like, this is very intentionally sounding very similar.
So the thing of when he's going through the crisis, right? It's the second big splash page after he recaps his journey that led him to here. And it goes through the crisis in 0 Hour, and then the 90s, the Wildstorm universe, until finally it lands on the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
That's the metaverse. Like, everything that we saw John talk about in Doomsday Clock.
No, you're right, and I think this is them incorporating what John's created in Doomsday Clock into the mainline DCU, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now, it sucks that it's, Lobdell's written this little thing, but this is just kind of setting it up. Obviously, what we're really going to do is in the Generation one-shots. Now, again, those are probably going to change a little bit because of the, what's happened. But, the next page after that is him saying, wait a minute, the JSA are back, the Legion are back. And we don't really have the JSA back yet. I mean, we saw them in Justice League via a bit of time travel, but we don't really have... our JSA back yet in like a way where we understand what they are in the world. I'm sure that's coming soon.
But he's talking about how he's sitting on the chair and then he sees this. But it's like, how is it possible? Like, so I like that there's that mystery there. And then when he starts talking about all these moments that have happened twice.
Yeah, actually, but this is what I was talking about with the metaverse, is these different versions of things happening. And what's funny is that me and Connor previously just did like this panel of meeting Barry for the first time. We're reading that story. We're reading Born to Run, and I love that it also does this new version of it where it's like, here's the version where Wallace also existed, which we've never really seen. But here's what this version is.
Yeah, because it's funny because there's essentially 3 versions of this. There's the 2 that we see here, which is the original one and the current one. But there's also the one in the middle where it was just Wallace. Yeah,
where Wally didn't exist for a while, yeah.
Right, where it's just Wallace and he was an angry teen that just wanted to be left alone, Yeah. So, also, I wish they had differentiated the names. Like, one was Walter and one was Wallace, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Because having them both Wallace, I just think about that family.
I think it comes from, New 52. This was, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be Wally. This was the replacement.
Right. And that went over as well as the lead balloon.
Yeah. So and then when they brought back Wally, it's like, well, what do we call other Wally now?
Right.
Wallace will do.
Yeah. So.
Do you know that page that comes after this, where it's split down the middle, right? And you've got like Barry's like old costume and new costume like split, half and half. And I'm like, man, I prefer the old costume so much without those extra lines. It's so much better. And then Wally in his costume and Bart in his old costume. And...
Well, you got Max Mercury, you got XS, you got Jesse Quick. Like, you have the old new, or the new old, whatever, however you want to say it, when post Flash Rebirth, when Wally got his new darker costume. You have Irie there with hers.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh man. I go, what's Lobdell doing? He's making me like something that he's writing, but then, as Pete points out, this is like probably not exactly coming from him. He's just having to hit these beats.
This is. I mean, I don't know who's spearheading this exactly. Who's like, we do. It
was Didio.
Well, yeah, it was Didio, but I don't know who was like.
We know it's not Didio because it's making Wally important, Connor.
No, it's Wally. But that's the thing. I don't think it is making Wally important. It's making him an observer and noticing these things. It's not making him important.
The final page is basically just Wally saying that, I'm ready to fix all this shit.
And this is where I have issues with Lobdell, because we didn't need. He could just say, I'm Wally West, the fastest man alive, or fastest man to ever live. I didn't need the whole rest of it. He goes, I got this. That's where Lobdell sneaks through with the overwriting.
Yeah. That sounds like something I expect come out of Jason's mouth. That's a Jason Todd line.
That's not a Wally West. Him just going, I'm Wally West, the fastest man to ever live. That would have been it, and then to be continued. Like, almost there. But I didn't hate the story like I expected to. Maybe because I went in with such low expectations, and then I start seeing all the continuity stuff. And even the Brett Booth art didn't annoy me. Maybe because I had just read the Rosmo stuff. So... but yeah, no, I didn't hate the story.
I'm really conflicted in that. I like the core concepts that are clearly from above, that are like, okay, I'm into this. I like these ideas. I take pretty much every bit of dialogue and narration, or like 80% of that from Wally. It just doesn't feel like Wally.
Yeah. Well, that's the influence.
But it's also Wally on the Mobius chair.
I don't give a shit about that. I hate that.
Come on, Connor. There's a reason he doesn't sound like Wally, besides that Lobdell doesn't have good characterization.
Well, let's just chop his head off instead.
No! How dare you?
I'd rather that than Mobius Wally.
So yeah, there you go. That's Flash 750. Honestly, it wasn't that long a read as I thought it was going to be. It kind of went in fairly quickly.
It's because it was like 20 pages shorter than expected.
I mean, that's true, but
and it's the Flash, and I mostly enjoyed most of them, so it's I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's not like a knockout of the park or anything like that. But it is, for the most part, it was solid.
So what cover did y'all look at?
I had read digital, so I mean,
yeah, I got digitally as well.
I picked it up physically, and I got the Nicola Scott.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's
probably what I would have got. I'd have to have a look at them, but that sounds like one I might have got.
Okay, well, I guess we need to rate the book. We need to rate 750. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I enjoyed the Jay Garrick story so much, and the Johns Collins one. And even the last one, and the Booch, and so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say an 8.
Connor,
I'm a lot lower than that. I like some of the stories, some of them I dislike, and want to skip altogether because I just knew I didn't like it, like within half a page. So all things considered, I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'll go with 8 as well. I mean, I think I was a bit more positive on the main story, and then I liked the Johns one. I like the point of the Bucciolato and Manipul one, even if I don't like the actual power that he uses in it. But yeah, not bad. I didn't even hit the Odell one, so I'll give it 8. I'll give it the 8. It was a fine anniversary issue.